Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo, and this is News Cafe. Tonight, we put the spotlight on the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community, or LGBT. A global survey showed the Philippines as the only country with high religiosity where homosexuality is accepted. Is the Philippines truly LGBT-friendly? What is it like to be LGBT in our country? We talked to LGBT advocates tonight to get the answers. We've got a brilliant group here. Nil Nodalo, head of Transman Pilipinas, Rica Paras of the Society of Transsexual Women of the Philippines, or STRAP, and Yeng Gatchalian, professorial lecturer at Far Eastern University's Psychology Department and one of the conveners of the LGBT Special Group of the Psychological Association of the Philippines. Good evening. Thank you for being on News Cafe.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you for inviting us.
Well, let's start out, Yeng. Please explain to us what exactly is sex, and when we talk about gender, can you explain that?
When you talk of sex, you're talking about the biological component of a person. Like you talk about the hormones and everything else in there. Gender is more of an orientation on how you live your life, how you live your sexuality, the way you express yourself, the way you identify yourself. That's gender. And that's actually what the norms expect you to do. That's what the norms expect you to behave.
Okay, and we're only used to male, female, but now we're seeing people refer to it as, well, now we see transgender. How do you explain that? What is, I mean, in terms of choice? So let's talk about first trans women.
Yes.
So, Rica.
When we discuss about transgender, we talk about gender identity as another layer of topic. When you talk about gender identity, it's your inner sense of being a male or a female. And when you have that, we now compare that with your assigned sex at birth, which is exactly, what your doctor or your midwife or the comadrona declared at birth. It's a boy. Okay, so you're a boy. Or it's a girl. So, you already have that assigned sex at birth. For transgender, it's really just there's a disjoint between what was your assigned sex at birth and what your gender identity is. So for my case, my gender identity is female. That's my inner sense of gender, but I was declared boy at birth. So that's essentially transgender.
Okay. Now, Neil, alam natin nga yung trans women, pero ngayon lang lumalabas yung trans man. Pakisuin, what exactly, ano ba yung trans man?
Ang trans man kasi pinanganak sa liwa sa kanyang gender identity. And I was born female and I identify myself as a male. So I am a trans man.
Okay. At ano ang pagkakaiba ng trans man sa lesbian? Ibang-iba yun, no?
Ibang-iba talaga. Kasi yung lesbian is, yun nga yung L sa LGBT, kami yung T sa transgender. So magkaiba talaga siya. Kasi yung lesbian, pinanak ng babae, pero ang gender orientation niya is, that makes her a lesbian. Sa amin naman, bilang trans man, ang gender identity namin is male. Ang gender orientation namin, pwedeng kahit lesbian, gay, doon na pumapasok yun. Magkaiba kasi ang gender identity at saka ang gender orientation.
Oo, kaya nga nakakalito, no? And many people really need to be aware of these different, kasi may mga labels rin. And the way of communicating it can be also a bit insensitive. So, Yang, can you tell us about some of these nuances and how people should really refer to these different...
People should understand na your orientation doesn't follow your identity. Like what Rica said, no? She identifies herself as a female, and her orientation also is also a female.
A straight, heterosexual female.
Oo. Pero yung sinasabi natin gay, they still identify themselves as male. Lalaki pa rin sila, pero yung orientation nila, yung expression nila is towards male. Or somebody of the same sex.
Yes.
Of the biological context, component. So yun yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa. In LGBT, the LGB, lesbian, gay, bisexual, it talks about expression, orientation. It's the gender orientation. Yung T, the transgender, that's the identity. There's a difference now in the identity. How do I identify myself? I was assigned female, but I see myself now as a male, and I believe I'm male. So that makes a person transgender.
Yes.
Yung lesbian, gay, bisexual, nandun pa rin sila dun sa assigned.
Yes.
In terms of identifying themselves.
Right.
Ganon.
Now, there was a time way back, not even so long ago, pati ngayon rin, no, they're seeing it, they saw homosexuality as a disease, and people think this is abnormal. But what do you have to say about that?
Nothing abnormal. In DSM-2, that's the diagnostic Statistical Manual 2, it was already removed. Kasi wala talagang findings na nagsasabing it's abnormal. When you say a person is abnormal, number one, if there's distress, what do you feel about yourself? Do you have anxiety? Do you have depression, etc.? Yun yung mga abnormal may distress siya. Second, dysfunction. We have many LGBT friends who are well-functioned. They're professional,
productive
they're
members of
happy,
society.
yes. And next one is deviation. Diba? Hindi naman sila konti. Diba? They're almost the same. They have the same number as the heterosexuals that we know. So, pumapasok sa tatlong D na yon, wala talagang abnormality. They're just stigmatized. Because people see them as different, marginalized nga Kaya ngayon, yung ginagawa namin is to inform and educate the public that there's nothing abnormal here. It's not psychopathology. The psychopathology happens when the stigma comes in. And they cannot take it anymore. That's when the psychopathology may come in.
Right.
May I just
Yes,
add
Rica.
about DSM? That's homosexuality. It was removed in the 70s, 80s, I think.
Yes.
Transgenderism was not. It was still in until last year, I think. By last year, it was declassified. It's still there, but it's now considered as a condition.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like a skin rash.
Yeah, okay.
We're no
So there's
longer
a skin rash.
But a skin rash is a condition. But that is why our struggle in education is really, we're trying to kind of like clarify the discussion between homosexuality and transgenderism, because they're really two different topics. That's the struggle and that's the essence of our advocacy, because people tend to conflate the topic, they discuss it in one go, and there are a lot of issues for gays and lesbians that are not really applicable to transgender, and we have issues that gays and lesbians doesn't really can't relate to, and but for the outsiders, it's really just one topic, but for us it's really a struggle because that's where, the stigma, for example, is applied to us, which really doesn't apply, so we have to clarify. That is why coming back, we have to go to that discussion on, what is gender identity, what is sexual orientation, we have what is assigned sex at birth, because that's our tool to explain our condition.
And also, more information only now is coming out on transgenders.
Exactly.
Now, I'd like to ask Neil, nung maliit ka pa, di ba, kailan mo alam na iba ka?
Mga 5 years old pa lang, na-feel ko na
alam
yun,
mo.
Kasi parang that time na isip ko, lalaki ako Pero parang hindi ko magawa yung ginagawa ng normal na little boy, di ba? So parang there's something wrong. And then habang lumalaki ako, sinasabihan ako ng magulang ko, no, hindi ka lalaki.
Pero pina-join ka pa sa beauty pageant ng mami mo.
Ako, kasi I tried naman na to become female, pero hindi talaga.
Yeah. And at that time, kina-classify ka lang always as tomboy or lesbian,
Oo, na hindi ko naman din inaano sa sarili ko na lesbian ako. Hindi ko naman alam kung ano yung difference nun, pero hindi ko lang siya gusto. Parang that time nafe-feel ko parang dinidegrade ako pag tinatawag ako na tomboy.
Paano mo nalaman na meron palang trans man?
Way back before, I think 2011, doon ko lang nalaman. Actually, ni-research ko siya. Kaya nalaman
Kasi sa
ko.
Pilipinas, wala talagang
Oo,
information. Trans woman, nakikita
sa
mo
US
yan.
ko siya nalaman.
Oo.
So kaya i-add ko lang, kaya meron kaming tinatawag na HRT, yung hormone replacement therapy. So hindi talaga siya sakit. Actually parang yung hormones na yun, tinutulungan kami mag-match kung ano yung nasa puso namin para lumabas siya outside. So,
Yung nga sa shirt mo nakasabi, T-shirt. So this is for T testosterone shot.
Yes,
So paki-explain nga,
testosterone.
what for you, for trans men, nagti-T-shot kayo to achieve this?
actually, hindi naman lahat dapat ng trans men mag-undergo ng hormones. May iba kasi na because of the financial, sa health conscious, diba? Hindi naman kasi dapat, kasi pag may sakit ka, hindi ka pwede mag-take ng hormones kasi baka lalo kang malagay sa panganib. So, kami, personal choice, ako, nag-hormones ako para maging comfortable ako sa sarili ko. So, kasi syempre, para mag-match kung ano yung nararamdaman ko at the outside.
And you always do research on this, diba? There always has to be medical.
Tsaka syempre, protektado pa rin kami ng mga doctors.
Oo. In the Philippines, sa tingin nyo ba, we are really an LGBT-friendly country? Do we truly accept LGBTs? Yeng, what do you think?
Yung totoo, when I talk to people, parang they're more tolerant lang, not really accepting That's one of the questions that we really want to raise. Dahil if you're accepting, there's a lot of microaggressions still going on. No? Like in school, sasabihin mo, okay naman sa akin, I have many friends who are gay, lesbian. pababayaan ko na lang sila kung anong gusto nila. And there was one talk I attended, ang sabi nung speakers was that we accept them but they need counseling. Come on, parang it's not, I don't think that's acceptance. It's more tolerance. Sige na lang, tanggapin na lang natin, no? And I think it's also because we're not really educated on what really is going on. That people still think this is abnormality.
Yes. Rica, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, it's true. Well, it's tolerated. There are no laws that really protects us from aggressions, and even from living our life to the fullest in terms of paperwork. I mean, just enjoying the full benefit of being a Filipino. Really, I mean,
Yes.
just like what any other citizen is enjoying. We are really limited in terms of, I can talk about marriage, adoption, property rights, healthcare, we are very limited. We have laws that doesn't really protect us from that. But, having been involved with global advocacy in LGBT, I can say it's still a luxury to live here as an LGBT in the Philippines, because in some countries it's prohibited, it's criminalized. People are being, killed and,
Yes.
tracked down
Yeah.
while they're doing LGBT rights. So it's just a matter of perspective, really. I guess for all of us, we all have our own battles to fight in our
Yes.
home. But we're winning, battle per battle in your own home or school or at work. I mean, we're getting the traction and support from that.
Little
but
by little.
Yeah, but it's not, I guess, euphoria.
Yeah, and we will talk more about that.
Yes.
It's just time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the biggest challenges for the LGBT community. Welcome back to News Cafe. We're talking to LGBT advocates Nil Nodalo, Rica Paras, and Yeng Gatchalian. All right, before we went to break, we were talking about some of the challenges for the LGBT community. Para sa inyo, what would you identify as yung talagang top challenges, Nils, para sa iyo?
Sa amin bilang trans man, yung documents talaga namin. Kasi like yung birth name, gender marker, yun ang mahirap kasi hindi lahat ng tao naiintindihan. At saka hindi naman all the time kailangan mong explain yung sarili mo, di ba?
Oo nga.
May time na wala ka sa mood.
Parang pag nagta-travel ka, you always say
Travel ka, like yung passport mo,
Can you-
hirap. Pagkuha ko nga lang ng passport, ang hirap eh.
Oo. So,
Oo,
anong
yeah.
nangyayari? What kind of experiences?
Ang tindi. Kasi dinala pa ako sa main, napunta ako sa investigation section, pinakita ko na lahat ng documents ko, nahirapan pa rin silang maniwala. Akala ko nga dadalhin pa ako sa doktor para, alam mo yun.
Wow.
No,
So parating na lang, sanay ka na dyan, basically.
sanay na rin.
accepted. Oo.
So, kasi kailangan nila, they have to deal with us. Kasi wala kaming law eh.
Oo.
Diba? Kung may problema kayo,
Oo.
Diba?
Kaya you have, and even in this, that's why minsan may stealth. There's a term you use, stealth. Anong ibig sabihin ng stealth?
stealth yung, secret, kumbaga, para bang, like ako, when I go outside, commute, ganyan, no need naman na sabihin ko pa na trans man ako or
Sa
papasok ako sa CR, trans man ako, gano'n. So, hindi ko na kailangan i-out yung sarili. Like sa gym, stealth ako. Mostly lahat, almost 90% ng buhay ko, stealth ako.
Oo.
Pero syempre, advocacy nandyan pa rin yan.
Oo. That's right. Rica? Para
Yes, top priority is really paperwork because it's like, for every day you have to live with it. On top of the concerns that raised by Neil, for me, the harshest was it poses some security risk when you travel. So, the paperwork and how you look like is different. So, I've had several encounters with immigration counters in other countries where I have to be, segregated and they have to investigate my identity and,
Yes.
because I'm apparently a security risk because of those paperwork. So that's a bit tough to take,
Yeah.
really, because of your paperwork.
Yes.
But on top of that, I think it's really access to work, really, for a
Yes.
lot of us.
Yeah.
You can just work and have, opportunity for promotions and things like that because a lot of LGBT people in general have economic struggles, really. And that brings a lot of us to, risky work or, to the brink of poverty, really.
Yeah.
And it's one of the concerns in the LGBT
Yeah.
community as
Now,
well.
well, just in terms of discrimination, I wanted to bring up in 2010, you were in a
Yes.
reality show,
Yes.
Pinoy Big Brother. And the first time, really, I think that mainstream media really showed what transgender meant.
Yeah.
And for you, that was also a challenge. What was it like? What did the people in the house really think?
It was really different because at that time, the term transgender isn't really very popular in media in general. But because of my involvement in that show, people or media in general started to pick up the term, started to use the term correctly, didn't identify me as homosexual or bakla, but it was transgender as we want it to be and we educate them to be. It was first a bit, parang worrying for me how they will portray me, especially a lot of gay people in media are portrayed medyo perya type yung personality. I'm so sorry to say that.
Yes.
But I would like to really present that, the reality that not all of us are comedians or not all of us work in the entertainment industry. A lot of us work in corporate setting, and we have dignified, professional outlook in life, and that's what I was trying to show to everyone.
Yes, and I think you were very successful.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And I was really relieved that is how people really took it. That yes, there are people like them as well who are like this, educated.
Yes, mas naintindihan na ng mga Filipino.
Exactly. Rather than forcing everyone in a specific stereotype.
Yes. Now, Yeng, you work a lot. You're an advocate for minorities, including women and the
Yes.
LGBT
Battered
community.
women, domestic
Yes.
violence, and LGBT.
And in Palawan also, you're doing a lot. What is it like? I mean, maybe we're used to the metro, but in places like Palawan, how is the LGBT community in places like that?
Right now, I know they have an association right now. And we're trying to empower this association by coming up with talks, mga fora, for them to know that they have a safer place now. Because safe place is really very important.
Yes.
No,
When you
yeah.
talk about safe, because it's support when you're coming out,
Support.
support and acceptance. How important
Yes,
is
and
that?
I am a straight female, no? I'm considered an heterosexual. So what I do is that I see myself as a strong ally because I am not an LGBT. I am not LGBT. And yet here I am
Yes.
talking about this not as a psychopathology, but as a normal. It's not even a phenomena.
Yeah,
no?
exactly.
Nothing like
Yeah.
that. It's normal. Wala. Yun lang. Talagang, they're human. Anong meron akong karapatan? It's the same rights as our LGBT friends, our LGBT family. And one of the difficulties in my profession is that in how I will educate people.
Yes.
Educate talaga the people. Kasi I'm a teacher and I'm a psychologist. I do work with the legal system. So minsan may mga cases ako na-handle that the lawyer would want me to focus on being a lesbian as psychopathology. For example,
force you
psychological.
to. Okay,
Yeah, there was a
very
case I had several years back na this lawyer was telling me, lesbian siya, so kailangan yan yung kaso, yan yung ifo-focus mo. And I said, hindi naman kasi abnormality yan. So I really had to force it in the court.
Yeah, a lot of
Yun.
ignorance out there.
So I really, that's one of the struggles that we have.
Yeah. And now, well, when we talk about discrimination, it's a good thing now. There's now an anti-discrimination ordinance. Cebu was the first to pick this up, no? So how do you think, how is it being picked up in the Philippines, Rita?
Yeah, we also have other cities joining in. We have Quezon City, Mandaluyong City, Olongapo City. So many cities trying to pitch their own anti-discrimination
What does the ordinance actually really contain?
It really prohibits and in some penalizes discrimination against gender identity, sexual orientation, and expression, which are really the main core topics and discussions in the LGBT agenda. And what it really does, it protects LGBT people from possible bullying, discrimination, humiliation based on their gender identity.
Pwede ba magbigay ng example? I mean, this has to do with work,
Yes.
health, your community. What would be an example of, I mean, when you're really, something that the ordinance would help? Maybe
Yeah,
examples.
an example would be, for example, at work, your gender expression would be feminine. So it really prohibits essentially the workplace to impose, for example, impose a masculine gender expression or way of dressing for you if you were born male. Another thing as well, like take for example in Quezon City, is it mandates the private and public establishments as well to have an all-gender restroom, which really gives an option for LGBT people to have an alternative comfort room, I would say.
Yes, because it's so basic, no?
It's so basic.
Comfort room.
Because a lot of us still suffer with that because, for example, me, for example, if I go to the female CR, there are people there who might, who might feel violated or something like that. And in some of the cases for trans women, for example, they're afraid of entering the female CR, so they don't have any other option. So that is why providing them an alternative option will save them from UTI, I guess. I mean, it's really something basic that at least our government is already trying to recognize that, we have to give these people an option because they have struggles. And I think that's a step already in our advocacy, that acknowledging our concerns in our, the problems that we have day to day is encountering.
And it's very important to talk about this. Nil, you're very active rin. Like everybody talking sa mga LGBT summits. Ano yung mga talagang gusto mong makita in terms of anti-discrimination?
Kasi iba na-discriminate, hindi tatanggapin sa trabaho dahil LGBT, di ba? And then once na natanggap naman sa trabaho, gusto pa rin ng amo, tatawagin siyang, kung anong gusto niya tawag, like yung pronoun, gusto niya tawagin siyang her. Kahit very masculine na siya, tawagin siyang her, ganyan, tawagin siya ng ma'am. Diba? Parang maapektuhan din talaga yung trabaho, di ba? Kasi syempre, tao ka lang eh.
Tama.
Maapektuhan ka talaga.
Kaya good thing. That's why this is what we're trying to do here too. Thanks for helping us understand that. Now, time for another break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the anti-discrimination ordinance that is slowly gaining traction in the Philippines.
pinanganak na lalaki, pero tingin nila sa sarili nila ay babae. May mga taong pinanganak na babae, pero ang tingin nila sa sarili nila ay lalaki. Yan ang tinatawag na transgender.
Welcome back to News Cafe. We're getting into the minds of LGBT advocates Nil Nodalo, Rica Paras, and Yeng Gatchalian. Now, going back to the anti-discrimination ordinance, as you were saying earlier, Rica, there's really no national law that protects LGBT people against discrimination. And currently, there are just, I don't know, maybe 10 cities that have this protection. And just to show, earlier we showed a graphic, which we can show again, about over 80 million people live in areas without protection against discrimination. How important is it for the government to really enact this immediately?
Yeah, for us, it affects us every day. You know, the moment you wake up, the moment you go to work. I mean, it will really bring a change in our daily life. And I think we deserve to be protected by the government because we pay taxes just like anyone else. So
That's
they
true.
should serve us as well.
Yes, and I mean just educating people. If you saw the video earlier, this is just a vlog. So this is a vlog that talks about just basic things that we don't know about LGBT. And here we have a deaf advocate, Disney, who is I think won a beauty pageant. For you, Yeng, you know the minority usually they don't have a voice, and this is why they speak. And in this video, even it is a deaf transgender woman. How important is it to really give a voice to communities like LGBT?
Very important. Like I said earlier, it was classified as psychopathology, but then psychopathology comes in kapag nandun na yung stigma. If a person cannot voice out what he feels, cannot express herself or himself, di ba tendency is that you keep it to yourself.
Yes.
You become oppressed. And then, hindi ka na magiging masaya. You will have the distress, you will feel depressed, and then there will be anxiety. So, if a person is able to voice out what they feel, express, and everything, di ba? Like what we do, there will be less stigma and less chances of psychopathology or abnormality.
And now in this day and age, there's still something called reparative therapy. Can you tell people think that they can repair this
There's no such
condition?
thing. We don't repair. We don't encourage reparative therapy. Even the American Psychiatric Association, American Psychological Association, and the Psychological Association of the Philippines do not encourage that. We don't use reparative therapy for our LGBT friends. Why? There's nothing to repair. We should focus not on the orientation, but on the current situation. Like for example, if our friend is suffering from depression, then you should focus on depression, not on the gender orientation of the person you're dealing with, because it is not the issue. Like it may be an issue as a cause of the depression because the people see that as a different personality, as a different person, di ba? So that creates depression on the person. So like what Rica said, every day of our life, these our struggle, how we'll be accepted, that people put us in a box, na we are entertainers, we are comedians, and it's very difficult for her to always explain herself.
Yes.
And well, she's educated, she's lucky. What about those people who cannot speak out?
Yes.
Diba? So they will be bullied, maligned. Yeah, the physical, psychological struggle is there.
Another LGBT advocate, Gina Rosero, sabi niya, while transgender people are culturally celebrated, they are not politically recognized. Are we seeing more and more people being engaged in politics or national activities?
Of course, yes. The fact that we had been moving so much in our advocacy, a lot of us are educated, knows our rights, know where we want to go. A lot of us really seek political change in order to make that difference, not just in our lives today, but for the future transgender, men and women who will live their life or will start transitioning to live their life.
Yes.
We really don't want them to suffer or to have as difficult transition as we used to have.
Yeah. Now, Nil, para sa trans men, ikaw yung buhay mo naging telesine na, no? Ang dami ng stories, and recently may documentary rin sa trans men. And recently may King of Trans pageant, the first pageant on trans men. Anong nakikita mo na changes for trans men in the Philippines?
Ang laki. So 2 years, 3 years ago, hindi ganito. So hindi alam ng tao kung ano yung trans man, walang idea. So ang laki ng changes. And then when it comes sa medical, sa doctors, marami na kaming nakita na maaring tumulong sa amin. So ang laki talaga ng changes. Kung hindi kami lumabas, hindi ko alam kung nasan kami ngayon. So siguro shadow pa rin kami ng mga trans women.
Yun kasi talagang sila. Why do you think mas nakilala ang trans women over trans men? Why is that?
Kasi sila talaga yung una nag-out, and then sila wala silang pakialam eh. Kumbaga talagang sobrang tapang ng mga trans women.
Si Rica na
Diba? Mostly kasi yung mga trans man, medyo pag naging passing na tatago na, diba?
Mga lalaki kasi hindi nag-uusap eh. Hindi sila
Yun nga, takot sa discrimination kasi, diba? Pero yung mga sa panahon kasi namin, parang ako, inisip ko kasi kung yung mga ibang tao sa ibang bansa, kung hindi naman nila mararating yan kung walang nag-out eh. Diba? Kung walang gumawa para sa kanila. Sa pating ko, parang pakiramdam ko, siguro kami na yung way para sa mga trans men. Pero hopefully, maranasan pa rin namin yung dapat makuha namin sa lifetime namin. Diba?
Oo. For you, but when we, of course, now we have media always gives us certain stereotypes or perceptions of what it means to be a man and a woman. Para sa iyo, Nil, ano ba talaga ang pagiging pagkalalaki?
Para sa akin, maging responsable ka. Hindi lang para sa sarili mo, para sa pamilya mo, sa community, di ba? Dapat meron kang commitment and then trustworthy ka dapat, di ba? Hindi lang dapat kalbo ka, may tato, may balbas, di ba?
Hindi sa
Macho
sa
ka.
physique.
So, hindi nakikita yun doon eh. Nasa pagkatao mo yun mismo.
Yes. Rica, what would you say on the other hand, for women,
For
you know,
women.
for a woman?
I don't know.
What
I
does it
think
say?
for my case, my experience as a woman, I like being a woman. Everything about being a woman. That's why a lot of people make a joke that if the girl is too pretty, too fixed, too composed, too kikay, she might be transgender woman because that's what we are. We really imbibe and really enjoy everything about being a woman. So from makeup to hair to damit, we know the nitty-gritty details of being a woman, and I think it's really fun to be a woman. And more than the roles and the things that people are good at. We can't be mothers and we can't bear children, things like that. But for me, being a woman and just being in tune with your sensibility and in tune with your femininity is something fun that you live every day, and that's what we obsess about, to be honest, every day.
Yes, and you're better at it. I mean, really, than I am, really.
We obsess it more than any other woman.
You take it to a different level.
Exactly, yes.
Rica, you once said that you are disappointed with the old school mentality surrounding gays and the gay culture. So yung mga concepts no na, anong pangalan mo sa gabi, people think that you have to have different personas. What exactly did you mean by that? What is this old school mentality that's bringing us down?
Exactly. Because essentially it's the old school mentality that made my childhood difficult.
How?
Yeah, because it imposed us a certain role that, pag bakla ka, you can't go through life successfully. You can't even enter corporate. You can't even finish high school. Pagtatawanan ka lang. All these stereotypes that was imposed because of what people saw on TV. At that time, they only had, I think, Pacifica Palaypay and Markova as their image.
Yes.
And when my parents discovered that, oh my God, diba, my son is already showing feminine signs, and they already think that, okay, magiging Markova yan, will wear makeup, stuff like that. So they already impose this old school thinking on you. And
Yes.
I really, I really struggled. I mean, to be honest, it really made my...
How was it for
growing
you
up-
coming out? What was
It
that
was
process
really
like?
difficult because more than, experiencing it and being in terms with myself, I have to face what my parents think about me, what will my relatives think about it, which is really important to me because what my family will see me is important to me as well. But that put more weight, I guess, in coming out because now you don't only just, ito yung gusto ko, you don't just say that, but you kind of think about how will you present your case so that your family would be more accepting, compassionate, and and supportive
Yes.
of what you choose. And I'm very happy that because it's more organized now. I mean, people can
More support
more
systems.
support system, and they already saw images on TV like me,
Thanks
like
to people like
Neil.
you.
Yeah,
Oo.
exactly. And they saw, these are not comedians. These are
Yes.
corporate people. They talk
Yes.
well. So may example na sila. So it's a little easier
Yeah.
for the child to come
Yes.
out because meron na sa TV, di ba? Well, hindi na sila babalik doon kay Markova
Yes.
as before.
Good to know their
Black and white.
improvements.
Exactly. Yes,
Right.
laking improvement ng example.
Yes, so fascinating. Now, time for another break. But right after this excerpt from the Becky vlog, Becky Taktakan, featuring JV.
Welcome sa inyo lahat! Ako si JV, ang biriterang Becky, na sasagot sa inyong mga katanungan tungkol sa LGBT. Question number 1, galing kay Titin V. Hi JV, ang anak ko kasi mahilig maglaro ng manika at pambabaeng laruan. Bakla ba siya? Ay oo, pag naglalaro siya ng manika, magiging bakla siya. Pag naglalaro siya ng baril-barilan, magiging mamamatay tao siya. Pag Pag naglalaro siya ng pating-patingan, ay! Kakainin ka niya. Rar! Kayo naman mga ating, hindi porket lalaki siya, hindi na siya pwede maglaro ng mga pambabaeng laruan. Ang dami nating kasabihan sa pagiging bakla. Ang maglaro ng manika, bakla. Ang umiyak, bakla. Ang malambot maglakad, bakla. Ang mahilig sa jackstone, bakla. Ang dami kayang bakla na ayaw sa manika. Mga bruskong bakla na kabog sa Chinese garter. Ang mag-stereotype ay very wrong. Mga mudang at pudang. Huwag nating problemahin kung ano yung nilalaro nilang laruan. Ang problemahin po natin ay yung values at ugali nilang natututunan mula po sa inyo at mga tinuturo nyo. At saka ano naman kung ang batang lalaki ay lumalaking Becky at ang batang babae naman ay lumalaking Tibong. Gaya nga ng sabi ng best friend ko, do not judge the book by its bookstore. Thank you. Okay lang maging bakla ang anak ko. Pero pwedeng hindi na lang siya magjowa. Pwede po. Itrato nyo na lang po kaming halaman. Photosynthesis ng kailangan, dilig-dilig ng konti, tapos paaraw ng konti, fertilizer, pataba, carry na. Ako nga po gusto magpakasal sa kangkong eh. Ang pakikipagrelasyon ay isang karapatan ng isang tao. Walang pwedeng dumikta sa pusong nagmamahal. Lalo na ang mahal mo si Coco Martin kung nasa tamang edad ka at pag-iisip na. Go na nang go! Push! Thank you for those wonderful questions. Again, my name is JV na nag-iiwan sa inyo ng isang katagang Life is too short para maging tsaka. Babush!
This is News Cafe, and we have LGBT advocates Nil Nodalo, Rica Paras, and Yeng Gatchalian at the table. Yung mga videos again, it's so brilliant, no? Clever, kasi it really explains the issue clearly. So ito nga yung sinasabi ni JV, yung mga stereotypes about LGBT. Ano yung pinaka-nakakainis na stereotypes or even insulting ones for you guys? What do you think, Nil?
Sa akin, kapag ka sinabi na lalaki ka, dapat masculine ka, ganyan. Kasi actually may mga trans man naman kasi na hindi masculine eh. Kahit meron din naman na cisgender male na hindi masculine na masculine, pero lalaki sila, di ba? Nagmamanicure, di ba?
Oo.
Hairstylist.
Metrosexual
Oo,
mga
pero I mean, hindi naman dapat basihan lang kung, at saka sinasabi nila, once, tulad ako, trans man ako, di ba? Hindi ka trans kasi hindi ka pa naman nagpa-bottom surgery. Or wala ka pang surgery, or, di ba?
Oo.
Kumbaga, hindi naman kasi nababase yun sa genitalia, kung ano yung pagkatao mo eh.
Yes.
Di ba?
Rica?
Sa akin naman yung view on relationship. In some case, wala kaming karapatang, to choose our partners or to karapatang magmahal. And in some cases, yung medyo masakit talaga is they really view us na pag nag-relationship kami, lolokohin lang kami or, huhututan lang kami for what we have, really. And I think it's a painful stereotype na i-associate sa amin because relationship is really karapatan ng bawat isa because we're all humans. We feel something, di ba?
Yes.
Di ba, nararamdaman
exactly.
namin. And the fear of, when relationships get rough or may nagkaroon ng sabihin natin gamitan because, someone is more powerful or has more money or has more resources, it's not just an LGBT issue, ha? It's a general human issue, di ba?
Yeah.
I mean, typically it's for all. So parang it's unfair, it's painful, and it's really offending to us to associate that only to the LGBT community.
Yeng, sa'yo, anything that you see that strikes you? In terms
Ako,
of-
it's my role as psychologist because they always see us as working with the abnormals.
Yes.
Yun yung term eh. But our role really is to help the society be enlightened on what normal and abnormality is, di ba? And how can we help remove stigma from the society? Yun yung isa sa mga pinakamahirap talagang ginagawa namin. And even explaining ourselves and what we do, like ako, babae ka eh, why do you do LGBT advocacy? Sinasabi ko na, why do I need to be LGBT? Hindi ba sapat na yung I'm a psychologist and I believe in well-being?
Yes.
Diba? And in promoting that, dapat kasama kami dun sa mga nagsasabi sa tao, nagpapaliwanag, kung ano ba talaga yung tama? Ano yung scientific? No? Ano yung lumalabas sa mga pag-aaral? And also, even helping parents understand their children. And in understanding their children, it will, again, help the children have a normal developmental period. Diba?
Yes. So how do you help people be more accepting, especially families? Let's say nagsastruggle sila sa mga LGBT in the family. How do you make sure that these people are more accepting of that individual?
Yeah, what I do, psychoeducation. We do fora, seminars, no, mga workshops, and we tap talaga heads and even mga parents for them to understand. And if ever na we see things or information in the media that's not correct, no, we try our best to really correct it.
Yes.
Air it out in the public na, ops, may mali dito.
Yes.
Para people will be more educated. And what we're telling them is not just our own opinion. It's not an opinion as a psychologist, as a person. It's more of an opinion of the science.
It's based
this is
on
how
studies,
it is
evidence.
studied.
Yes.
It is studied, diba? It's evidence-based. May mga pag-aaral na nagsasabing if a child is accepted by the family, that this person will grow up as a productive person, with good moral values, regardless of the sexuality of the gender, whether LGBT or the cisgenders, di ba?
Yes.
So wala talaga yun sa, sinasabi nga ni Neil, wala sa genitalia yan. Nasa pagkatao, kung paano siya tinatanggap ng tao, ano yung environment niya, ano yung values na na-embed sa kanya. Yun yung pinaka-importante doon.
And I would like to talk about something else that also raised awareness on transgender issues. Of course, Jennifer Laude, which you have also, both of you have been very active in this issue to raise awareness on it. Ano yung tingin nyo, how was it portrayed by the media, Neil, sa tingin mo?
Mga few months ago, very active, di ba? Ngayon medyo nakikita ko medyo nananahimik na eh. So dapat tuloy-tuloy lang. Lalo na sa community namin, tuloy-tuloy yung laban kasi kailangan talaga mabigyan ng hustisya to eh. Kasi naging way talaga si Jennifer Laude para mabigyan ng boses, mas lumakas ang boses ng LGBT, lalo yung trans community. So dapat tuloy-tuloy yung laban, dapat mabigyan to ng hustisya.
Oo. Rica?
For us, yung issue ni Jennifer Laude has, opened a can of worms in the Philippine consciousness, especially kung paano nila view yung mga transgender people. Let me take, for example, especially if you go online and see kung ano yung mga comments ng mga tao regarding news kay Jennifer Laude, people would victim blame, kasalanan niya yon, and deserve niya yon kasi niloko niya yung Amerikano, diba? All those things. I mean, mga bakla yung makasalanan.
No one deserves to be
They
killed.
deserve that. Yeah, exactly. No one deserves to be killed. And as I said, it just really opened up to a lot of harshness, online bashing, and the general sentiment of people, especially to transgender people, na, we are still people who live in lies. That's how they see us. We are still people who live in deception, and we deserve to die. That's the general sentiment, and that's painful.
Yeah, well, many have said about this case that this is really beyond discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. It's a fight that extends to hate that is translated into violence. And yan yung nakita nga natin.
Exactly.
And in fact, even for the media, some were recommending a media reference guide on transgender issues. So sa tingin nyo ba, may mga, I mean, the media didn't exactly also portray or communicate this in the best light? What do you think? Yeah. Or, like, let's say, always making reference to Jennifer Laude as a transgender woman, as if, what Rico was saying, maybe it deserved a little bit nga of the negative.
I don't want to be unfair, no? Pero siguro yung iba, hindi naman lahat, no? But some talaga communicate it as this is a sin, this is Jennifer's fault, no? Kasi niloko niya. Naririnig ko rin niya personally, I hear that. So not only in the media, but also with my personal interaction with some people, they even say, kasi naman bakla siya, so niloko niya. Sino nga ba naman lalaki yung nandun na sa peak, so malalaman bakla pala. So again, I try to explain, no, it's like this. And ito yung nangyari, ito yung pwedeng nangyari. So that way, at least in my own small way, no, I get to enlighten some people in understanding what might have transpired
Yes.
at the time at that night. No?
Yes, right. Now you brought up sin, religion, of course, always a very sensitive topic, no, pag religion. Now, when we look at the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis, he's talking about issues like homosexuality. So parang nalalapit ang mga tao sa kanya. Neil, anong masasabi mo dyan? What do you think of Pope Francis and him discussing homosexuality?
Excited ako pagdating niya this January kasi at least mabubuksan na naman panibagong kabanata for the LGBT community. Hopefully magsalita siya about it the way na sinabi niya na if a person is gay, I think
More on gay.
diba?
Oo.
So
If a person is born gay.
person is more gay, diba?
Productive naman daw
Who
sila
am I
sa
to
sinabi.
judge? So, di ba? Napakaganda nung term. Maikli lang pero napaka-powerful. So, talagang moving siya. Lalo, siya pa yung pinakamataas sa Catholic, di ba? So,
Yes.
Talagang
So it brings hope para sa
brings hope
LGBT,
talaga,
ano?
sobra.
Oo, Rica?
Yeah, and to add on that, there had been directives as well to the church in general to stop obsessing about topics about homosexuality and sin, etc. Because essentially for us, we want people to stop obsessing about our condition, I would say. We have other aspects of our life that people can talk about, like our work, our talents, our skills, what we can offer essentially. And that's what we want people to see us, not just our nature as LGBT.
Yes.
And that's essentially the message.
Yeah. Yeng, what do you have
I'm
to
a Roman Catholic and I'm proud of our Pope.
say? Yeah.
And yes, that's so true eh. Kasi who are we to marginalize? Actually, there's no margin. Dapat no margin. And another thing is that when Rica said that
Feel they're being discriminated.
yeah, they're being discriminated, ganon. Parang that statement of Pope Francis actually opened up, it enlightened a lot of people. In all of my workshops and fora, I always have that slide showing the Pope. Kasi a lot of people would ask us, science ka. But what about the religion? Because there's nothing in the Bible that says there's a transgender, there's lesbian. And I say, ano ba yung nasa Bible? Diba? Love, unite, be one. Also, that's what we're doing. And positive psychology follows that. Because in positive psychology, we always believe that the person is always good. And that's what you should enhance.
Yes.
No, do not focus on anything that you see is not natural or whatever.
That's right.
No,
As
what-
the Pope always says, na mercy and compassion.
Yes,
Yan yung
oo.
theme niya ngayon, no?
Yeah.
Now, finally, you guys are so involved in really, in your advocacy. Let's talk about some of the current things happening. Ngayon, may Pink Film Festival. Neil, kayo, just earlier this week, nag-launch kayo. You were in a film directed by Nick De Ocampo.
Nasa
PUC.
premiere night po kami ng #PinkQCity. From December 9 to 16, couple of films ang ipapalabas.
Oo.
Every day.
Yes.
So, yun, mamayang gabi yung sa amin, yung #PinkQCity.
Yeah. Which Rica hosted,
I
right?
know. I
You
hosted it
that
earlier this week, and just having a note there. It's a welcoming development in terms of how media and now movies is portraying transgender topics. Hindi na perya, hindi na katawa-tawa, caricature personalities, but these are real life na
Yes.
pinagdadaanan namin every day, and it's now going mainstream. So we welcome it. We're very happy that real people, real transgender people speak and portray transgender lives, not always in behalf of the transgender people, because we want to speak for ourselves.
Yes. And of course, just the last weekend, we had the Pride March in Malate. And this coming weekend, the 13th, QC Pride March naman. So, nandyan din kayo, no?
nandun kami.
May float kayo dyan, di ba? Transland Pilipinas. Oo. And we're seeing a lot of discussion even in the political sphere, so in Congress, no? So, definitely, you see a lot of traction. Some final words, maybe. What are your hopes for the LGBT community, Yeng?
Yeah, in behalf of the Psychological Association of the Philippines, we came up with a statement supporting the LGBT community. For us to make the people aware that this is not abnormal, that we should remove the stigma, and for us to have a better community, better society, that people should be more understanding and accepting. No, this is science-based again. No, it's not my opinion as a psychologist. It's not the opinion of my friends, of my colleagues. This is because science says that there's nothing abnormal about this. This is not about dysfunction in the family. This is not about a bad experience when you were young. No, actually, we shouldn't even ask where it came from.
Yeah.
Because it's natural.
Yeah.
It's like gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and us, male, female, girls, boys, walang pinagkaiba yan. We all deserve rights. We all deserve to be loved. We all deserve to love.
Well said. Rica, some final your
Yes.
hopes?
in our transgender community, there had been a lot of immigration for transsexual women to live in another country, find love in another country, because that's where they, found happiness, security, and really support in those countries. And it's sad because you have to seek those protection from other country. You can't even have it in your own country. So having said that, I think we really call for our government to act upon it, because other than not having the law itself, but it's a sad reality that your citizens are seeking, rights and seeking protection from other countries. And I think the government owes it to us because, as I said before, we pay taxes. Do something
said.
for us.
Yes. Neil?
Para sa akin, just life is too short. Spread love, hate no more.
Galing. Very nice words to end the show. Thank you very much for sharing your stories and your lives here at News Cafe. Well, that's it for News Cafe tonight. Thanks again to our guests tonight, Nil Nodalo, Rica Paras, and Yeng Gatchalian. We hope you enjoyed tonight's Mind Brew on LGBT rights and equality. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Thanks for watching. Good night.